How's it going, everyone? Gill here, and I was not able to get a video out on Djokovic and Federer because of some time constraints that I had in my life. So I decided about an hour and a half before the match, let's try something new. Let's go live. Talking about Djokovic and Federer set to play in the Paris Masters in about an hour and a half, the semifinals, that is. So I thought I'd give my thoughts and perhaps answer some questions. If you got them, I might delete this video after I'm done, but got to give you guys something, so here I am. I do think that this is going to be more competitive than the last one was in Cincinnati when Federer played Djokovic. I'm also, by the way, glad that Federer pulled through so that the narrative of him being afraid to play Djokovic and therefore subconsciously losing the match before, I'm glad that didn't happen again because I've never bought into that. You know, it was nice that Federer was able to get through Kei Nishikori. He's played some pretty good tennis this week compared to last week in Basel, in my opinion. Here's a few reasons why I think this is going to be closer. One, Djokovic has looked a little bit ill, and I think it's perhaps affected his energy levels, especially coming out the gate in the first set. He's just, his color isn't quite there. He's been taking medication on the changeover, so Djokovic should be a little bit less than 100%. The second thing is, I have never heard Federer go into a match with so little expectation, probably since the beginning of 2017. When he came back from injury, he came into the Australian Open as a 17 seed and said, look, I'm just here to play some tennis. I might lose first round, I might lose second round, I might lose third round. Guess what? He just didn't lose. He won it. So if you've listened to Federer kind of in the lead up to this, he's like, hey, we're going to give it a shot here, but I was tired after Basel. I didn't think I thought about pulling out of Paris. He thought about pulling out of Paris. And now let's see if we get a Roger Federer who's looser than usual, who kind of lets his shoulders loose and says, you know what? I don't know if I really expect to win this match. So, you know, maybe that brings out his creativity a little bit more. Maybe he's able to hit his forehand with a bit more freedom. He's able to hit his forehand a little bit more sharper and not in big moments, you know, not have that shot shrink like it has in the second half of this year. With that being said, there's a huge gap. There's a huge gap for Federer to overcome. So I've said I think it's going to be closer. I've laid out the reasons why. I just don't think it's going to be enough that it's going to be closer. I don't think Novak having the flu and Federer perhaps playing a little bit looser, I don't think that it's going to be enough to close the gap. And my sense is that Federer's going to win the first set. I don't know why. That's kind of my gut. But when Djokovic gets rolling here, if Djokovic goes on a run, if he gets off to a fast start, that's when I think Federer's kind of mindset might come back. His kind of coming into the match saying, well, I'm tired, I don't know if I wanted to play. That's where I feel like it might not be likely that Federer digs in and is able to stop a Novak Djokovic run. And in tennis, just like in, you know, other sports, you have hot streaks, you have runs within a match, ebbs and flows. And I don't know how confident I am that when Djokovic gets going, which it'll happen at some point in the match, will Federer be able to stop the bleeding? So for some reason I'm feeling Federer gets off to a hot start. You know, his body, he hasn't been on court that long here in Paris, but he's fresh, he's loose, and I think he plays some really good tennis in the first set. But I'm wondering if Djokovic wins the second set, I'm wondering how much of a chance Federer would have in a third, just for instance. The other thing is there has been such a gap here. And to me, Federer needs this offseason. To me, nothing's changing until Federer gets a few months to relax, go back to the drawing board, and figure some things out. With his forehand, with his serve to a lesser extent, with his tactics, and with his body. One thing I want to say, tactically, and this is something I want to see from Federer. I'd like to see him move back, because Djokovic's depth has killed him. It killed him in Cincinnati. And Federer having to take the ball right off the ground because, Fed's court position is so advanced, and he likes to stay on top of the baseline. With Djokovic's just incredible ability to play with unbelievable length, it really bothers Federer. And I want to see him do what Stan Wawrinka does against Djokovic. Move back and take some huge cuts. It's not Federer's game. It's not something I expect to see him do, because Federer normally just does Federer. But I think in order for Federer to win, he needs a radical tactical adjustment, because the gap between him and Djokovic right now is too long. And Federer's forehand hasn't been there, and it's going to need to be. So he needs to change something. And to me, I think what he should try in this match, this is just me, if I'm coaching him, I'm saying, let's see what happens. Move back, give yourself more time to get in the right spot, and take bigger cuts. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm feeling Djokovic in 3, is what I'm feeling. It's tough to predict with the health, but the gap's too big. Djokovic is, he's been so good. Return, defense, in that 3-setter against Cilic. Cilic redlined for a set. And what surprised me about that match, I'll look out for your questions now, because I'm kind of said what I want to say about Federer and Djokovic, so I'll answer some questions. But quickly on the semifinal, Cilic redlined in that first set, kind of like we saw him do in Queens. And instead of Djokovic changing his game, instead of Djokovic saying, Cilic is kind of bullying me a little bit right now. Cilic is pushing me around the court right now. Let me be more offensive. Let me play more aggressive. Play closer to the lines. Hit bigger first serves. Hit bigger first forehands. Djokovic didn't do that. Djokovic stayed the course. He played incredible defense. He had incredible counterpunching. He stayed steady, and he had so much confidence in his game, predicated around return and defense and steadiness and counterpunching. And using depth and placement when he needs to take the offensive. He just stayed the course, and Cilic's level dropped, and the Cilic errors came, and he does it so often. He's so good. There's no panic with him. So I think the same thing sort of happens. I think this is the kind of match that Federer might be able to redline for a set. But when you see these two play, when we saw these two play in Cincinnati, Federer needs high-risk tennis to have success against Djokovic. Djokovic can just do his thing. He can play high-percentage tennis and beat Roger Federer. And that's a really tough position to be in for Federer. So what do you guys think? I'll hang around for about 30 more seconds and see if you guys throw anything at me that I'd like to respond to. Otherwise, I will sign off. Give you guys about 20 more seconds here. Appreciate the likes, the viewers. Do you think Federer looked better yesterday as opposed to Basel? Yes, I think he's looked better. It's weird, too, that he's looked better. I think there's a lot of pressure on him in Basel, so that might be part of it. But, I think Federer, he just hasn't had what happened in Basel. It wasn't that when he was playing well, it wasn't good tennis. Federer played some good tennis in Basel. It's just Federer had some hideous stretches of wretched tennis in Basel. And I think that was the main issue, where he would go through stretches where he couldn't find the court in Basel. I don't think it's that he never played good tennis. I think he did. It's just here he hasn't had these horrid stretches. I think he's more likely to move forward. If anything, staying behind the baseline will make that tougher to happen. That's true. But, I mean, how did Cilic do moving forward against Djokovic? He was getting passed. I really like a guy who's given Djokovic trouble, Stan Wawrinka. Wawrinka, you know, he sort of just decides, look, let me hang back, and I will hit bigger off the ground than Novak, and, you know, I'm going to play long rallies, aggressive rallies, but if you can consistently kind of just eat away at Novak's defense over the course of 3 sets, which is such a hard thing to do, I think the best chance to do that, the best chance to kind of play offensive tennis is to eliminate what Djokovic does when he's trading with you. When you trade with Novak Djokovic, his depth is a killer. And when he hits with this depth and he forces his opponents to kind of hit half volleys, that's how he breaks your contact point. And that's where Federer can hit a bad trade, and now Novak can take the offense. And we all know that if Federer is defending, he's going to be in a really bad spot. So I don't know. For some reason, I want him to move back and rip. That's just kind of my feelings. Do I think Karen has a chance in the final? Yeah, he's playing really well, and he's the kind of guy who can. He's another guy who can redline, and I think that's what you pretty much need to do if you're. Unless you're Rafa Nadal right now, you're gonna need to play huge and hope that Djokovic's passivity comes back to bite him, because that's one thing that sometimes Djokovic can fall into, which is normally fine because his defense is so good. But can you rely on it too much? Can a player who is spot on, red hot, take advantage of that? Yes. So Karen has that ability on an indoor hard court. It would especially help that. Any ideas with the serve? No ideas. I'm not really sure. That's another thing. I think, you know, tired legs, any sort of aches and pains that come with the end of the year, that could affect the serve. The hips, the knees, but everyone is dealing with that. But that's something that I would expect, you know, an off-season cures. You know, right now there's no rhythm on the serve. I'm not sure why that is, but that's the kind of thing where I think this offseason is going to be important. If Djokovic really has the flu and Federer knows it, that might be the reason for him to stay in a rally for longer. Maybe, but, you know, Djokovic, I think, I mean, look, he's a fighter, and we'll see how much it affects him. That's why these things are hard to predict, and that's why, you know, that's why I think it's going to be closer. But at the same time, who knows? Djokovic could be 100%. Djokovic could be 60%. We just don't know. All right, thanks, guys. Perhaps I will do this more. Pretty happy, 60 viewers. That's pretty good for a live, and got some good questions in. So enjoy the match, everyone. I'll see you next time.